Hello, my name is Katherine Bergman. I'm a floral designer and avid gardener with over 30 years experience designing weddings and events. Welcome to my channel, where I share professional tips and techniques for creating beautiful, extraordinary floral arrangements with you each week. Today we're going to learn to create this spectacular arrangement and also how to mix silk flowers with real flowers. So are you ready to make something gorgeous together? Let's get started. Today I'm going to show you how to mix faux flowers with real flowers. The reason is I'm filming this video in January and I wanted to make something spectacular for my garden club display. So every month my garden club has something called Table for Two, where we take turns setting up a beautiful table for two with flowers, beautiful china, whatever you like. So this month is my month and I've been sick, so I haven't been going to the flower market, but I wanted to do something spectacular. So I thought, what do I have that I can use? Now, over the years, I've collected a lot of silk flowers, high quality silks, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to cheat a little bit and use some faux greenery and flowers to make this a big, spectacular arrangement. And then supplement the faux flowers with fresh flowers I just bought at Trader Joe's. So I didn't have to get up in the middle of the night and go to the flower market. I'm going to use this really fancy looking gold vessel, which is actually an ice bucket that's really tarnished that I sprayed gold. And the reason I'm using this is because I'm going to be using really fancy Bavarian china. So I thought, you know what, why not go all out, right? And I'm going to use some flowering branches, some white cherry blossoms that I bought on Amazon, as well as some of this beautiful wispy greenery, just to set kind of a spring-like, large, sort of messy line in this container, so that instead of doing a small arrangement with tulips and roses, I can do a spectacular, larger arrangement without breaking the bank. So if you're going often to Michael's or Hobby Lobby or other craft stores, always look for quality silks and collect them over time. They often have sales like 40%, 50% off at Hobby Lobby, and just look through their inventory and see what strikes your fancy. I also like to look on Amazon. It's hit or miss on Amazon sometimes. You order something that's supposed to look like this and it comes and looks terrible. Well, you can always return it, right? So generally when I look for faux flowers, I look for something that has realistic colors. I think the number one dead giveaway that a flower is very plasticky or fake is if the flowers are the wrong color or color you never see in nature. Like, don't buy a teal rose, or a, burnt orange cherry blossoms, because there's no such thing, right? So I usually stick with white and pale green and maybe some pale blush, but I generally don't go for any strong colors. And then you'll see a lot of crazy colors out there, and I don't know, I'm not a fan. So these look very realistic to me. I also bought these wispy greenery branches because I love the movement. And you can't always get perfect greenery like this all the time. Like right now it's winter. This is supposed to be, I guess, kind of like Nandina. And most of the Nandina out in the garden are red or orange. I did cut a few green ones, but they're not long like this. I'm going to start by greening in this lightly. Now, this vessel doesn't have a huge opening, and we're trying to get a kind of a large, spectacular arrangement in here, so I'm not going to green in too heavily. So I went foraging in the garden today and found a few stems of green Nandina. The reason I wanted to use the Nandina is I feel like it'll just echo what we're going to use in the big branches, so that makes this more realistic and it transitions nicely. And so generally speaking, I don't green in very heavily if there's not a lot of foam to cover. Now this foam is all hidden inside the vessel, so you only have the opening to cover. And because we're going to add a lot of different materials in here, I don't want to take up all the foam space with greenery, so I just green in lightly. Now, one mistake I often see novice floral designers make, myself included, is greening in too heavily. You don't leave much room for your flowers to add in later. So you take up all your foam space with greenery. It's It's an easy mistake to make because you see all this exposed foam and you think, oh, I got to cover it, right? Being the A students that we are, we always want to cover it. But you could always go back later after you added the majority of your flowers and add a little bit of greenery to hide the foam. And more lately, we've been using greenery as a feature and not just for covering foam. And I'm really happy. So for a long time, the designs that were popular basically had like no greenery, right? Everybody just wanted these masses of hydrangeas and roses. And now, last few years, people like that more natural look with lots of greenery. And I like it. A lot more movement and more garden style. So I've just greened in very lightly with an andina. This is going to be a one-sided flower arrangement mainly because when we do the table, it's kind of against a window and nobody sees the back of the arrangement. So I'll just do the arrangement and keep turning it so you can see what I'm doing. Next, we're going to set the main lines of the arrangement with the faux materials because our faux materials are the largest materials we have. I'm going to first do the cherry blossoms because they are going to be featured more prominently than the greenery. The greenery is just to reinforce the cherry blossoms. Wonderful thing about faux materials, you can bend them to your will, right? However you want. So this is what we have so far. I was careful to add the branches in on 3 different planes because I wanted to look 3-dimensional, right? And that's one way to achieve it, is to make sure that you're adding things in on different planes. I often see one-sided arrangements with a stiff back where they, you've seen those at churches, and funerals and sometimes even weddings, where the old-fashioned florist will do like a palm leaf backing, totally flat, and the flowers are resting against it. And it's awful, I think. So we've got these on different levels here, the flowering branches, to create a very natural kind of line. And this is also a trick to show you how to achieve a large arrangement without a ton of materials. So if you are doing something for entertaining or you need to make a big arrangement, but you don't want to buy a ton of flowers, this is a great way to achieve it by having some faux flowering branches around. So you'll achieve an airy and light yet spectacular arrangement. Now I'm going to add in my greenery branches. And the greenery branches are just kind of to reinforce your flowering branches. I feel like this is a little sparse, so instead of adding more flowering branches, making it look too heavy, I'll add this wispy greenery in the background. And it'll set off your flowering branches a little bit too. This is my longest line. And these are some of the tricks I've learned over 30 years doing weddings. Often your client has a certain budget, but they still need a spectacular display somewhere in the wedding. And, setting these wispy lines creates a very large arrangement without using a ton of flowers. So this is what we have. This is the bones of our arrangement. And this is the size of our arrangement, which is pretty big, right? And then we're going to fill inside with some roses and tulips. And it's actually going to come together much faster than you think. For the main flowers, we have these beautiful peach roses. These beautiful kind of apricot-y peach roses, pink tulips, and some violety pink spray roses, as well as some novelty pale green carnations. So it's going to be sort of a pastel-y, springy display of flowers. Now I'm going to add some quick dip. Those of you who watch me every week know I love the quick dip, right? So Floral Life Quick Dip is something I've been using lately. That's wonderful. Comes in a little bottle like this, or a large, gallon size. And then you just put it, like a couple inches of it, in a little jar, and dip your stems in there before you insert in your foam or in the vase, as well as during processing, and it makes your flowers last really long. I'll link this in the description below because this is really a game changer in terms of lasting quality. And you could reuse this. So what I usually do is put this in a jar with a lid, and once you use it, you could close the lid and reuse it over and over again until it gets really gunky and gross, and then you can start fresh. Okay. So I've got these beautiful Versilia roses in this apricot color that I love. And I'm kind of creating a low cluster at the base of the arrangement just to set a low focal point. Then I'm going to come in and add some of the violet pink spray roses. I chose the violet pink to kind of contrast with the apricot color rose. I wanted sort of a mixed pastel palette for this arrangement, and I thought the blue undertones of this mini rose with the yellow undertones of the apricot rose are just wonderful complementary colors that will, it's kind of unexpected color scheme, right? And it also is very expressive of spring and just very cheerful. That's kind of what I wanted to express with this color palette. Okay. Don't need a lot of this apricot, the violet-y colored rose. Just a few, I think, to contrast with the apricot. Then I'm going to add a few taller stems of roses in here. Okay, this is what we have so far. Then I'm going to add in some tulips. I also chose like an almost lavender color tulip for this arrangement because I just thought that that contrast with the apricot is so pretty. Love tulips. Sometimes they're tricky to work with because they get floppy, the heads get floppy, and they keep growing in arrangements, right? So for events, when we use tulips, we don't add them in till like a day before the event. Because if you add it in too soon, then sometimes they will grow and flop and be in all sorts of weird directions that you didn't intend. Okay, I added in some tulips just to show you what it looks like color-wise. I'm going to add some more in. Now I'm going to add in some of this really pretty pale green dianthus. It's a single dianthus. Dianthus is just carnation, and it's a mini carnation in a pale spring green. I thought it'd be very pretty in this arrangement. Add a hint of that pale green to set off our pastel palette here. And it's like sort of like a little filler flower. Kind of wispy and kind of bobs above your arrangement. And that's kind of the look I was going for. Okay, this is the arrangement so far. See, we're almost done. Added in the tulips, the dianthus, and I have a few stems of faux tulips here. This is some really beautiful tulips I found online, and they're real touch tulips, and they have like very realistic foliage as well as these beautiful little buds. I don't know if you can see the little buds. I thought I'd use a little bit of this because I like this color. And it's a parrot tulip. Another thing to look for when you're looking for faux flowers is the greenery. Sometimes the flower itself is nice, but the greenery is very fake looking. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll just pull off the greenery and take that off completely, because a lot of times the leaves are what gives it away. It looks terrible. I wanted to add some of these parrot tulips in here for a different texture and also for a longer stem, because the tulips I have are not super long stemmed. And I'm using the buds mostly because I think the buds are so realistic looking, so pretty. And then now I'm going to add in a few of the blooming tulips, just a few. And that's what we have right now. So you can't really tell the faux tulips from the real ones, right? Oh, broke one of the real tulips. That's too bad, it's too short to use. There are a lot of very realistic faux tulips out there, And tulips are often hard to work with and it's not available all the time. They are available at the flower market all the time, but I don't think, if you're going to your local grocery store, they're available all the time. So that's a great one to invest in. Just buy some really high quality faux tulips and then you can use it all year long in your arrangements. That's why I started buying flowering branches, is because they're not available for anyone during the time when it's not spring. And I love using flowering branches because I love how airy it is without creating a lot of weight. It could create a lot of drama. So I have a lot of faux branches. Now I'm just going to go ahead and finish greening in. I see some exposed foam back here. So I'm just going to use the Landina and green it in so that the foam is not showing. Okay, I worked on the back. Let me just make sure we don't have any foam peeking out from the front. See a little bit down here. Nandina is a great greenery to grow if you have the climate for it. We definitely have a perfect climate for it in Northern California. And there are a lot of different kinds. One I might want to add this year is called Lemon and Lime. I saw it featured on, I think it's Southern Living magazine or something like that. And it's a pale green, lime green Nandina that doesn't turn red. Of course, I love the autumn color ones too, but it's nice to have that greenery around all year to use. Okay. And of course, the beautiful berries at this time of year. Okay. I think we're good. Everything is greened in. I'm going to turn this around to take one last look at it to see if we are missing anything. No, I think it looks really nice. Maybe add a tulip here for pink color. Here we have a spectacular, romantic spring-like arrangement created with faux flowers and mixed with fresh flowers. Well, we're all done, and now you know how to mix beautiful high-end silks with real flowers. Thank you for joining me today. I hope my design inspired you to create something fabulous this week. As you know, I love hearing from my loyal viewers each week, so send me a comment to let me know what you're up to this week. And share your designs with your fellow flower lovers in the community section of my channel. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and join me here again. New designs and floral creations are always on the way, so click the little bell to be notified when I put out a new video. So until next time, remember, flowers are nature's little luxury, and I will see you in my next video.